Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to my not so weekly Shabbat messages. It's been a few weeks, but I wanted to hop on this Shabbat because I wanted to spend a few minutes honoring a very famous Jew who we lost this week, Mr. Chaim Topol. And I've been overwhelmed with the amount of people who have reached out with texts and messages, sending their thoughts and condolences, and I appreciate it. I haven't spoken to him in a long time, but he did play my papa for 10 months on the road. And I actually wanted to share something in honor of him that I've been working on in school. To catch anyone up, besides still being an actor, I'm in cantorial school, and one of my classes this semester is a sermon class that's made up of rabbinical students and cantorial students. Why are we learning to sermonize, you ask? Because in Judaism now, a lot of cantors are leading services in ways that rabbis do, and taking part in the sermon and the prayers, and also rabbis are singing. So the Jewish synagogue and the Jewish congregation and the service is looking a lot different in many ways. And I love this class. And months ago, we were each given topics to sermonize on, to present. And Monday, this coming Monday, my sermon is Purim. And Purim, we celebrated, most people celebrated on Sunday, but the actual holiday was Tuesday. And I was sitting this week writing my sermon, which was mostly about Jim Henson, as you do. Sorry, right there, Jim Henson and the Muppets. Today, I sat down and finished my sermon and ended up writing a bit of a tribute to Chaim Topol, Topes, as we called him, and the character he chose to play for his entire career. And I wanted to share that with you. Now, if you're someone who's used to hearing the word sermon and you immediately fall asleep or walk out of the room, I promise you this isn't your standard traditional sermon. I hope not. I don't think there's any Hebrew or Talmudic discussion in it, but I just wanted to share a bit of my thoughts on Topol and honor his memory, and also honor Purim and honor the Jewish story and the Jewish existence this Shabbat. All right, here we go. Yesterday, the president of Israel announced the death of an Israeli actor, and I would be remiss not to take this opportunity to speak about that tonight. I mean, if the president announces your death, you know you've made quite an impact on that country and on the world. But I promise this also does have a connection to Purim and the Book of Esther. That actor, Chaim Topol, or as the world knows him, Tevye. Of course, I grew up knowing Topol from the Flash Gordon movies, two older brothers, but I was also aware of his Oscar-nominated performance as Tevye the Milkman in the required Jewish viewing of Fiddler on the Roof. But Topol wasn't the world's Tevye. He was my own papa for 10 months on his farewell tour from 2009 to 2010. I played his eldest daughter, Tzeitel, whom he argued with and finally allowed to marry Muddle the tailor at the end of Act 1. As I sat yesterday digesting the news of his death and this upcoming evening's Purim celebrations, As I sat yesterday digesting the news of his death and the recent holiday of Purim, I began to wonder why Topol, an actor of amazing versatility and talent, chose to make a career telling a single Jewish story. I mean, he's an incredible actor. He could have played more villains in Bond movies or even romantic leads, but no. He chose to tell the Shalom Aleichem story for over 50 years. Did you know that Topol was 30 when he made the movie? And a little tidbit of information on his tax returns under occupation, he doesn't write actor, he writes Tevye. Now Tevye, the father of 5 daughters, or as he did every night, 5, hits the jug with the spoon, daughters, is a milkman who has a very special relationship to God, his family, and his faith. A man who, in my eyes, represents more than who we were as a Jewish people in the Ukraine, but also who we've become as Jewish people in this time, in this world. Like Tevye, we have adapted. We have questioned, we have cried, we have worked harder than our income shows, we've questioned our love for our spouses, we have argued with children, our neighbors, and in the end, we as Jews have been asked to leave our home. This is where I'd like to return to the book of Esther and to Purim for a moment. As you might remember, or possibly blocked out, in the story in the book of Esther, Mordecai refuses to bow down to Haman. And in retaliation, Haman tells all of his people to slaughter every Jew. And Esther, overhearing this, runs to the king to tell him of Haman's plan. And the king, instead of stopping Haman or telling the Jews to flee, he tells the Jews to fight back, to slaughter anyone who has threatened to slaughter them for their survival. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't remember a Purim spiel including this scene. Maybe it was in the Les Miserables parody, but I don't think we're very proud of that part of our history. This is a gory tale of death, supreme power, and for me, a shameful way to look upon our history. But now let's look at Tevia's story, and perhaps in it, see that we as a people have grown from our history. So the end of Act 1, I get to stand under the chuppah every night and marry Muddle. And this is also where the hit song, Sunrise Sunset, can be heard. And the bottle dancers start dancing around the stage, wowing audiences each night. And I got to watch them and marvel at their talent. And for the record, our bottle dancers really balanced the bottles on their head. And it was proof because every once in a while, a bottle would go flying into the orchestra pit, nearly hitting the conductor's head. I giggled. But as you know, just before the end of Act 1, before the curtain falls, a group of Russian men barge into the wedding, throwing the gifts on the floor, the tables on the floor. They strike Perchik, and they put a stop to the celebrations. And it is time for Tevye, our Jewish protagonist, to make a decision. Fight back, as they did in the book of Esther, or leave his home of Anatevka. And I don't have to tell you the choice that he made. And the choice that the Jews have been making for centuries. We move. We pack up our things, kiss our neighbors goodbye, and we leave. We no longer lift up our swords, guns, or fists to slaughter those who have come to slaughter us. We adapt. We travel. We become new citizens. Because no matter where we go, we're Jewish. Tevye's family, they don't all leave together. I don't know if you remember, Tevye and Golda and Bagels and Sprinkles, as we called them, they go one direction. Seidel and Muddle go another. Huddle goes to Kiev to find Perchik. Chava leaves with her goy friend. I'm not going to shock you with the story of what happens in part 2 of Shalom Aleichem's Tevye the Milkman. But if you're curious and you feel like you want to go down an epic trip of sadness, you can go read what happens to everybody, but it's Purim and it's time to celebrate and be festive. I am proof that making the decision to leave has resulted in a people that still exist today. My family fled Poland and the Ukraine and Germany from before World War I right up until the Holocaust. Not all survived, but those who did resulted in my own family and my own story and my own love of the Jewish tale and perseverance. So perhaps Chaim Topol knew just how important this message was in deciding to dedicate his life to one story. Tevye saw change coming right for him, and he looked up to God and he asked for guidance. And in not getting an answer per se, he relied on his own Jewish instincts. Sing, dance, celebrate those around you. Listen to your wife. Listen to your dreams. Listen to the next generation of fighters. Love deeply. Pray harder. And in the end, pack up your things and leave the land where you're not welcome. I hope, as we sit here today, we're not being told to leave, but we're definitely aware of the anti-Semitism that is bubbling all around us. And I hope we can look to Tevye for ways to remain proud to be Jewish. We're singing music to celebrate Purim, speaking our prayers loudly, and keeping our swords down and our hearts up. Chaim Topol may have played the role of Tevye for 50 plus years, but in reality, every single Jew has played that role over and over and over again. He merely wore the costumes, sang the beautiful Harnick and Bach score, and he gave us someone to cheer for that mirrored our own plight. So there are many lines in music from Fiddler that I could use to close, but there's one prayer I wanted to end with, and it's a prayer I hope we're all able to sing at one point to those around us. In honor of Chaim Topol, may his memory be a blessing. and Shabbat Shalom. May the Lord protect and defend you. May He always shield you from shame. May you come to be in Israel a shining name. May you be like Ruth and like Esther. May you be deserving of praise. Strengthen them, O Lord, and keep them from the stranger's ways. May God bless you and grant you long lives. May God make you good mothers and wives. May the Lord protect and defend you. May the Lord preserve you from pain. Favor them, O Lord, with happiness and peace. Oh, hear our Sabbath prayer. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.